Hello everyone and welcome to yet another live coding and chill. I'm your host Johnny, delighted to be here. Hope you're off to an amazing, great week. Today we'll keep going with our Radiant re-implementation in Svelte and SvelteKit. The Tailwind team created a brand new marketing SaaS template that includes blog functionality, and their CMS of choice was Sanity. Very well recommended and respected by many developers, which led to us implementing our CMS solution with Sanity as well, and we'll be diving deeper into that today. Of course, instead of React and Next.js, we went with Svelte and SvelteKit. I do think you need to go with a meta framework nowadays to get any work done in a pleasurable manner, and the framework that gives me the most pleasure nowadays, at least when it comes to JavaScript full stack meta frameworks, it's Svelte and SvelteKit. So we've been re-implementing in Svelte and SvelteKit. Indeed, we've delivered dark mode, as you may see, which looks very cool. We haven't done a few of the features that they have, but we do have quite a lot of animations there. We do have view transitions. We do have a login flow, and you can try everything out yourself for free by clicking the links in the description and let me know, does the sign out flow actually work? This is live, so it has to, but maybe it only works on my machine, you know, classic. But everything should be working. The extra things that we have, there are a few missing sections that we haven't done from the official design that I'll be working towards on my spare time. Some really neat little tasks, some just images that just need to be embedded. But the one we'll be doing today is the blog, the CMS functionality. Last time we took a deeper dive into Sanity. Sanity is the CMS that allows you to have a locally deployed and running studio to manage your content, which we can have a look again here. Interestingly, even they have dark mode. So I've copied over a few of the blog posts that the Tailwind UI team has made, some like AI ones. And a lot of them do have rich text as well, embedded images, headings, lists, separators, that sort of thing. So we'll be doing more regarding this in this episode. In the previous episode, we just got the featured posts, and we'll start by fetching all of the blog posts. But even then, we're only fetching the featured images, the authors, the titles, the dates, the excerpts, but not the rich content. So we'll have a deeper look into the what you see is what you get editor here that Sanity Studio offers, and see how we can render this in Svelte and SvelteKit. So they call this block quote, block content sometimes. Sometimes they call it portable content. But the point is that we have paragraphs of text that have various styles that are slightly different things. Sometimes they're headings, sometimes they're just paragraphs, sometimes they're images with alt fields or descriptions. Sometimes it's blog posts, sometimes it's things that you made up, like a separator, something that you've added. So we'll have a look at how that is supposed to work. We'll make it work today. And other interesting features that we may get to. Well, we'll definitely get to the one I've mentioned. We may even get to the RSS feed functionality, but in between, lots of cool things. How do we ensure that we have type-safe queries? We'll be getting deeper into GROQ, which is the query language that Sanity CMS uses, inspired by GraphQL. You hear those things and you're like, oh no, do I need to learn like yet another thing? And we'll see how I feel about this. As always, no affiliations whatsoever. I saw tools that I think are cool and that I use myself or consult others to use them. So let's see where we land when it comes to the GROQ language to fetch content from Sanity CMS. And that's indeed how we'll be starting. Let me know in the chat what you're working on this week, what you'd like to see from me next, and all that good stuff. My dog is here keeping me company too, so it's going to be a great stream and a great Monday. So In the previous live stream, we've managed to fetch the feature, the blog posts, which we've created live using the Sanity Studio, running a local host that we will deploy later today. So you can access it from anywhere. You don't need to have this stack running. And the way authentication seems to work with this is that they take care of it. So the Sanity authentication abstraction or whatever that is, has you logging in with GitHub or Google or another auth2 provider of choice, maybe even email and password, and then you get invited into a team, and this specific RadiantKit team knows that I have access rights to create blog posts, edit them, have admin rights there, and I could invite others. The important thing is that somehow I can fetch all blog posts that exist here. And what we've done last time is only fetch the 3 featured blog posts that exist, to have them in this nice card section that definitely looks way cooler in dark mode, right? Much better. And we've done that using this GROQ query language, where we specify that I want to bring in the posts. So we have quite a lot of, well, a few entities, I suppose. In the CMS Studio, we have posts which have authors and which can have many categories. So in this case, we're saying we want something, we want to fetch things that are posts and they're featured and they have a slug, because I guess if they don't have a slug, then we won't be able to link to their detail view. We order them to show the latest published ones first. It takes a dynamic parameter for how many we want. It's gonna always be 3. We even have some custom rule in the CMS defined to say that if someone is trying to toggle the is featured thing and you already have 3, it throws an error. I don't know if that's good UX, but that's what they did, the Tailwind team. Much like GraphQL, we're saying that we want specifically to get over the wire some fields. So title, slug, published at, main image, excerpt, and the author, which you can do this arrow thingy to specify the nested properties that you want. This author is an entity like object. So we only want the name and the image. We don't want ID or anything like that. We've abstracted all of this into a post repo interface that we are indeed implementing just with Sanity, but in the future you could have like an in-memory one for tests if you're using mock service worker or just VTest tests or anything like that. Or you can go to like PocketBase if you prefer PocketBase at some point, or Contentful or whatever else. I do find working with abstractions, if you're heavy into JavaScript, you're like, what is this? But there are some reasons where having to work like against an interface will save you time. It's a classic thing where you do put in a lot more boilerplate to start with when you're working against an interface. And if you never need to switch to anything else for this project, then you're fine. Then you've lost time because you didn't need the boilerplate. But the moment you need to switch to something else, you save time, you have more confidence, everything's better. So I've been working against interfaces for the past few years and I've been liking it better. So one way where I do classes in JavaScript, and it's not bad. It's not an anti-pattern. Anyway, the only thing that we have for now is to get the features posts. And the thing I should mention is that I did install an extension, the Sanity.io extension, which can magically scan some things in your repository. It can find that you're using the GROQ method from these packets and then understand that, oh, you're trying to pass in this template literal is actually GROQ, a query that you're trying to do against Sanity. And it will highlight it like this. In the previous live stream, it looked like this, just like a string, like any string would. But with this plugin, it looks like this. You get like some IntelliSense code completion. So have a look at that. You can even execute the query, but passing in the environment variables can be a bit tricky. So it's not perfectly working for me now because I've switched to using environment variables for the Sanity CLI and not just to make it easier for people who wanted to use this project to know that you need to put in your own project ID and your own dataset. But that has meant that you need to do something slightly more complicated to actually inline run the query. But if you do want to run the query, I can only imagine that you can copy all of this, go to your Sanity Studio, go to Vision, and paste it in here, and then execute it. But quantity is a dynamic parameter, so you need to say 3. There you go. So it will fetch like 3 items with the 6 properties that you've asked for. So you can have it going. And I wonder if you can like say that quantity is 3 or something. And then it will also work. Not really. If I just say quantity without the dollar. Ah, there you go. So you can pass it in here, but you need to specify params like this. It reminds me of GraphQL back in my day. I guess GraphQL is both more modern, but also back in my day type of thing in this instance. So the similarity is if you don't ask for publish stat, then you won't get it back. You save that going over the wire. Even if it's a backend to backend request, it can save a few milliseconds. And a bit of bandwidth. So one part to make my life easier has been installing this, the Sanity Studio plugin. Great, awesome. Give it a go. As always, you may not remember that in all my repos, I do have a VSCode extensions.json with the relevant extensions that would be nice for you to have. And if you check out the repo, like literally git clone the repo, check it out from GitHub and open VSCode. While in it, VSCode will ask you if you want to install the recommended extensions here. So I've added this sanity.io extension, which does this nice syntax highlighting and IntelliSense for the GROQ queries. So there you go. A few other things, like not too many. I try to make the things that I really think you should download, because nobody is going to be like, oh, he wants me to download this lint. No. Or something like that. But yeah, GitHub Copilot, do you really need this? No. So just a few things in there. Have a look. And we'll be having a look at making the queries typed. So now we have this features post query that we can write a bit easier thanks to the plugin. But what this returns is a mystery. So we are using the Sanity client to fetch using this query. We're passing in the magic parameter here of quantity 3, and still it doesn't know what it gets back. So maybe to make it like more obvious. This is a promise of anything, and surely we have the technology to make our code and TypeScript understand that when we run specifically this query, we'll be getting exactly an array of objects like this. It's the same with GraphQL. GraphQL has the GraphQL CodeGen tool that can scan all the queries that you have in your project and understand, oh, this should be the result of this query. If you're specifying that you only want title, then according to your schema, you should know the title is a string and you're not getting back like something you didn't ask for, like the ID or the created at. So it's a extremely good use case for having a code generation tool that types things for you, because you've already typed what you want. You don't want to manually go somewhere and say, oh, that feature post has a title and has a slug, because it will get out of date. Like this, if you want to change what you get back, you literally have to write something, but you don't need to rewrite the type. So you'll forget to do it inevitably, or you mess it up and return something else. So you need to have a tool that does it. And that's what we'll try to do now with sanity-typegen. This thing. This used to be another tool that did something else, and this is in beta, but it seems to work. Let's see. We do have the Sanity CLI, we have a Sanity Studio configured. let's recap and say that we are in a monorepo that has both the SvelteKit web interface and Sanity Studio. So that may complicate things. I think they have like a monorepo example, so we'll get there. But let's see what it wants. In theory, in the Studio folder, we run the CLI to extract the schema, makes sense. And then we run the typegen tool to generate the TypeScript types. So extract it from your Studio, the whole schema, and then something else scans your files for GROQ statements and stuff like that to generate the TypeScript types. So makes sense. They are saying that for some TypeScript indentation, you need to use not GROQ directly, but define query, I think. But we'll get there. So it does say here it will be included, and if you use define query, it will be included. But if it's in line with GROQ, then it's not going to work. So if it's in line with the fetch, it's not going to work. So who knows? They are specifying define query here. By using define query, when writing your GROQ queries, the Sanity client will automatically return types when the query is used in fetch after you've run the Sanity types and generate. So they're saying the same library, the GROQ library, also has a define query method that is exactly the same in theory, but I guess because you can pass Interesting. So we have the template tag way, and we can do define query and pass in the template tag again, but pass it like this, and then it's fine. Sure. And for some reason, this allows the library to do some magic to actually be able to type this better, I guess. I'll trust them if they say so. And the generated types must be somewhere that are included by TypeScript. They're going to be in our source folder, so that's fine. So we'll create in our web project, where SvelteKit is, where this query is, maybe a source lib generated folder, let's say. I like putting things in generated files. I like putting them in a generated folder, maybe including in their file name that it's like .generated or something. So it's clear you shouldn't touch this, and this should only be automatically generated. Extracts in the schema, blah, blah, blah. All right, example, monorepo. And do we have Sanity schemas? Don't think so. What do we have? So in the Sanity project, in Studio, we have schema types, I guess, and we have index. Maybe that's what we want. But doing this, sure. Ah, it's the output. I see. So here it's saying, put the schema out in the other app. This feels kind of silly. So this could be put in Studio. So let's extract the schema. See what happens. Sanity schema extract. In the pagination of the Studio, we have Sanity. So let's create a generate command, which is going to call Sanity schema generate. Good. No. Bad. Sanity schema extract. That's what we want here. And let's go to the terminal. and say that in our apps studio, run npm generate. Right, so this just extracted a schema.json. Not saying it's generated. Maybe we can, if you change the path name as we saw, should be fine. So it created this JSON thing, big file. I guess we could call it something else, but we'll see how we feel about it. But after this, let's prettier it just in case. Could call it sanity generated schema. Just the path flag. I'm making up this convention. Let me know if you think it's cool or not. Let's try to run the command again. Of course, we need to do prettier right here. The format command does this right. Try again. Right. Generated and formatted. And it's what we expect. We won't be using the schema JSON. Be using this .generated JSON. It's to further hint that this is generated. You shouldn't write this. You shouldn't modify this. And then in our other repo, I suppose, we can have a sanity typed in JSON. Let's see where that appears again. The sanity types and generate. All right, so no dashes or anything like that. In our web app, let's create that sanity types in JSON. And specify these options that we saw here. And we want to say no comments. Yeah, I guess we can remove them later. Oh, interesting. Just a typo, maybe? Unclear. Maybe because it's a globe pattern, it does need slashes, but we'll find out. We don't have TS or TSX here, it's or JavaScript or anything, so we could just say TS, but you know, I'll keep it for everyone. And the path will still be in this file, in this web app, this SvelteKit app. So let's go to source lib generated. Ah, no, sorry. So it's just the source, like here. Anything in this directory inside source could be files that we have glob patterns in, where we have GROQ queries. So where we have this, it's gonna be picked up because it's inside this, is inside source lib source, I guess, anything that's in there. Right. So the schema now, schema is one rank above in Studio, and we called it whatever we call it. I'm gonna copy paste and not risk it. Sanity schema generated JSON. What a guy. So let's create a generated directory. You can see my brain like thinking about this, and put this also in a generated directory and just call it sanity schema JSON. Hello Milos and hello Bide. How are you both? Great to see you in the chat. Took me a bit of time to notice because my brain was like overloaded with naming things. The hardest thing in engineering. Yeah, Animation Svelte is awesome. Like if I wasn't following the Radiant UI thing, I would definitely make one of these buttons have like the cool line going around it, or a glow effect, or some of the cool ones there. I like them. And the output file here should be, this is the one that should be source lib. Generated sanity types TS. All right, so I think we're good to go. And I will have a look. At the animation since we're here. So new components, not the looks ones. Eternity here, is it those? Ah, the looks one is the one that always has this. I always like them. Ah, these ones, the new one. I see. I'll definitely have a look and see what I can borrow. Bento grid is something that they have in Radiant UI as well that I haven't implemented yet. So this is kind of a bento grid, I guess. So this can be easily copy pasted there. Would be fun. I like the asymmetrically. Very nice. So I'll have a more thorough look later for sure. Very nice. Right, so generate again. Good. Did it generated in the expected directory, which is generated sanity schema JSON. Great. And now, I guess all we want is so they only say this command like once. I think it's sanity-typegen. You can do it. Sanity-typegen generate. That's how they get you. So in our web app in package.json, let's create a generate command. We don't have one. Which is going to do sanity-typegen generate. And then I guess we can prettier write just this, all of the generated directory, why not? Cool, let's see if it's gonna work. So in the web app, run the generate command here. Fail. No sanity there, so I guess we don't have it as a dev dependency. Yeah, we only have the sanity client. But in the studio, we do have the sanity client. So npm add dev dependency, clear dev dependency sanity client. Bring it in. Should add an executable for us, and then it should work. Sweet. TypeScript types done. generated, source lib generated. And I've put it here because with other tools, you do need to like import these types manually. But I guess what they're claiming is that this will magically know and infer the type because I use define query here. Let's see. All right. So cool. In other tools, I would need to do something to say, oh, this is the result of this, I guess. Of this query, the featured post query. It's the name of the variable, makes sense. And using the define query makes it so when I use this query in a client, it will know what the posts are. Cool. Very cool. The interface is not happy because I haven't typed things correctly. I'm certain. So, the title is string or null. So most of these things are string or null. Even though I do think the slug, the query says that we'll always have a slug, right? Or else it wouldn't be so interesting. So the main images could have an asset. Interesting. And this is not a specific type, sadly. What would you like me to check out? Let's see this button. Yes, I was thinking of the glass button, this one, for one of those. Input hover vanish component. Is it one of the new ones? Vanish input. There you go. Reactivity. Cool. Nice. The runes. Nice. I think I've seen this like diffusion, like the Avengers end of Avengers Infinity War snap effect in a few different ways. This is very cool. We won't be doing search today, but we'll get to it, I'm sure. Right, so we have managed to type this. Now we have the problem that in the interface, the way I type the post, it's not really, it doesn't really reflect reality, even though I am a bit disappointed that like there are so many or null values. I wonder if there is something I could have done to ensure that this is never null in production or something. Not sure. Not sure. Also, it makes me not want to make the query like a constant because it looks ugly. I guess it's just the name of the variable, so then the type would start with a lowercase letter, which would also not be great. So hey, it is what it is. The point is that I do want to return this, but some fields are null when they shouldn't. And I don't particularly want to filter them. So do they have, they don't have a version of this that doesn't have the or null, the everything could be null. And I was thinking that the defined one would guard against the slug being null. We don't want them to be null. Let's see, sanity not return null values. Feature request. Plan for future version of GROQ, said in 2022. Is there an option for this? Who knows? Coming in February, this February, so that's something. Oh well, that's something we will be looking at later. So any big difference for me to change? The public stat is a string. The image has an asset. Where's the alt here? And the main image has it as well. So do we see asset everywhere, anywhere else? Sanity file asset. Is it this? Sanity image asset. Interesting. So this is something that we could use, I suppose. But interestingly enough, its asset looks like this. The same trick again. So what do we think this is? Let's evaluate it as well. So it's unwrapped post, and it has the first one and the main image. So it is a thing that has an asset inside. That's an image asset, interestingly enough, and can have an alt. Interesting. Right, so I do want to convince that this is just feature post. What do I need? I do know they will have title and slug. I guess there is nothing in the CMS that says you will not show this if it's null. I could tighten this up, so I am opening myself to type on safety, but I do think it's a bit much. Sanity image source is a real thing, which I did use there. Good for me. So I think that will do. This is close to reality. And I guess if I did claim that this has a crazy attribute like whatever, then this would throw an error. So even though I do need to write something in my interface, like a Muppet, at least I don't need to write what this returns by hand. It's inferred by what I ask for. And this, if this kind of matches outside of the null values, that's gonna allow me to do this type kind of enforcing. So pretty interesting, pretty handy, especially since you'll have like a few queries, you don't want to type all of this by hand. It would be nice if I could indeed have a shorthand way to say if they are null values, don't return this. I assume, like, it seems like even if I say end title is not null, end this is not null, yes, I can take it out. Let's scan again. So yeah, even if I explicitly check for this, it will still tell me that title may be null, which is not ideal. That's something I would want to fix. In reality, I would want something like this. I would want, first of all, something in the schema to say, all right, you can have draft content that doesn't have a title, but for published content, you need to have these fields. That would be a great rule. And failing that, I would want something here where if I do put in the query that this must not be null, then it will know that the things that I asked for, if they were in the filter case, then if I've excluded the possibility of it being null in the filter case, then here it would be like string or image asset or whatever it's supposed to be number. That would be handy. And that would mean that I wouldn't need to do this enforcement here. But I think that's automatic, like mostly automatic type safety in the monorepo. Can we also do like a task? In Turbo, where we can say like the generate task, just run it. So instead of going specifically into each one, at the root of the repo, I can say pnpm turbo generate. And then it will run both of them. But can I say run this one first? Not generators, a different thing. So they call it code gen, I guess. No. So let's call this command code gen, because it seems it conflicts with something else that's called generate. Would this work? All right, so I will try to run it, but then, like new pattern, I guess. In here, I need to actually call this code gen. And in the web app, I also need to call this code gen. How do you feel about this? All right, so now both of them run in parallel, but in reality, I want one of them to run first. How do I specify I want to run one task before the other? I won't look into this too much. So, hey. Depends. I could be saying, so that's something that I may do offline. So instead of hunting for the sanity schema, in Studio, like this file, I could be publishing it, and then this other app in the monorepo the web app would be depending on the published output of this app, the Studio app. Maybe a bit too complicated, to be honest. So yeah, we'll look at it offline. Guess if you run it twice, you're good to go. The first one is a race condition. If you have updated the schema of your Sanity Studio and you run the command to scan your GROQ queries, then you'll need to run it again because you have a different schema. But hey, that's a small use case, doesn't matter that much. So we need to keep going. Now that we can write the queries better, we want to implement the rest of the blog posts. So we'll do this. Fetch all the blog posts. We can see that the Tailwind team has written quite a few blog posts with funny titles and context, but the content is the same for all of them. That's fair enough. We want to bring them first, fetch them all, render them kinda nice, and then do the filtering functionality that they have here. Well, it's a lot of insights. And also, afterwards, do the pagination functionality that they have here. And then go into showing the detail view with the portable text that we talked about. Hopefully that's fun, because that's the plan. Right, so I guess so a regular post doesn't have the featured image, I imagine. Even if they have featured images, we don't get them, but we do get everything else, including the author details and the date. Therefore, the latest posts let's go to the interface. And we can say that maybe post snippet is the same as a feature post if we omit the main image. We still need title, slug, publish stat, excerpt, and the author. So I think that would do. And in the implementation, we can say that the posts are not this. We'll need a new query. And we'll need one. It's like latest post query. And not featured ones. The others should be the same. Main image shouldn't exist. Still ordered by publish stat. And quantity can still be dynamic because I believe they ask for 5. And then I want to cast this. Let's see. If I've done this correctly, I think I'm gonna get a red squiggly here when I try to convince that this has a main image. But I guess, the answer is no, because we haven't scanned for this query first. So let's do the generation again, which we've called codegen for no real reason. And now, indeed, this gets a squiggly because it's like, this doesn't have a main image, so it cannot be a featured post. But that's fine, because it's actually a post snippet. Great. So let's also look at our lovely, speaking of nice animations and CSS, our lovely hamburger menu transition. Go to the blog, and we want to render them here. all blog posts. So we want to use this new method somehow. In our blog page, in our load method, we can also ask for the latest posts. And the post report does now have this. Great. Hello, Mikey. How are you? Monday has been good so far. I've managed to dodge the rain here in Barcelona in the morning when I was out. And it's kind of drizzling raining now, which is what you kind of want when you're doing work. The only applicable time for rain is when you're by a fireplace or doing work. So optimization opportunity here, for sure. We could stream these, I guess. This would be... We may so streaming these later, but since we're not streaming anything, we can at least make these two run in parallel. How was your Monday, Mikey? So latest posts, we are now returning them. Let's render them in the UI. The feed section here. I suppose. What is WYSIWYG? WYSIWYG stands for what you see is what you get. I rarely use acronyms, but for a YouTube title and thumbnail, you can't really put all of that in. What you see is what you get. And what it actually is, it's a great question, should have mentioned. It's a reads text editor. So it's a classic thing that I feature reject and I do not want to build because it's kind of tricky. But something like PocketBase or Sanity, as we see today, makes it easier. So it's non-technical people who want a way to be able to do inline images and like style things and bold things and do like whatever. And whatever they put in their CMS here is what the clients read, what people visiting the website see. And you tell them, oh, just use Markdown. And they're like, no, I don't know Markdown. I just want to copy it from like Google Docs or Word or whatever and look the same here and then look the same on the website. That's all I want. So it's a huge thing to make this work, but thankfully there are quite a lot of libraries and things like PocketBase and Sanity have one included. Rendering them, as we look at it here, is going to be a part that we'll be tackling soon. So it's a reads text editor, commonly used. It's not like the pre-tag, no, not at all. It's gonna be complicated. We'll get to that section. Right. So let's see if we've managed to fetch all of these things. This thing, this feed component, is gonna get some props, get some posts, and they're gonna be post snippets. And then we're gonna get them out. Is it possible to render a component in Markdown? Everything's possible so long as you believe. And it's commonly like easier than doing the reads text thing. So if you have if your source of truth is Markdown, it's easier to turn this into HTML that looks as you expect than it is with a reads text editor experience. But we'll make it work. So here, where I say all blog posts, I do like UL. So both with Markdown and reads text, you'll need to do a conversion to turn it into HTML first, and then you will tell Svelte to add HTML render this as it is raw. But the trickiness is making the rich text thing be HTML. Is post as post. Let's render the title. And if I save, I expect nothing will happen, if anything, an error. But when I pass the post as data latest post here, I expect here on the left to see some titles. Nailed it. Could have looked better, but we made it work. I think it may be time for CSS rabbit hole quickly. I do have the Tailwind stuff here, so maybe it's gonna be kinda quick. Let's see what they're doing, what Tailwind classes they have. So I think it's a post component. They have the categories, then they have the post, then they have the pagination. It is this. They're doing some React server components, which is cool. If there are no posts at all, it throws a 404. If you're trying to be on another page, or else there's no post found. Anyway, we'll deal about this later. It gives it some margin, and then it's doing the CSS Tailwind stuff. Interesting. They love doing margin top, while I love doing margin bottom. So in this feed, in here, let's, I did put margin bottom, great. And then for each one of these, let's see what they do. For each list item, they do relative positioning grid, one column for this, and a border bottom that I think should get a border color from shadcn. The first one should have a border top. So we can remove this. It wants it to have a different color. How fancy. Let's say this. I don't want to have a different color. And some gap and stuff. Great. Save. All right. Borders. Getting somewhere. And then they have another div. For some reason, there must be a reason. Ugh, Date.js again. So they have another div. What are they trying to do? Let's have a look. I guess it's this, like this section first. Sure. We are doing some format somewhere here in the feature section. So maybe the date formatter. Maybe we can have like a lib. Do I listen to Pink songs? Pink with exclamation mark. Back in the day. Maybe even today when I want to dance. I like the dancey songs. Utils, I guess this could have, like, let's have a formatter file. Formatters. And let's have the date formatter here. So all of this, copy it. Export it. Can call it like full date formatter. Bring it into the feature section. Works the same. And also in the feed. or elsewhere in the feed. We want to bring it in and use it. Bang. But what do they actually want? They want it to be like small text because Lord forbid people can read it. Let's copy the same thing. My styling choice. Neat. Cool. What else are they doing? And then if there is an author, they do something. Should be in its own div to the left. So if post author, is there any chance they don't have an author? I guess. So in the here, say that it may be null. Why not? So if we have an author, oh, and if they have an image, so that's also not true. I guess this could also be null. So if we have an author, then we want this weird, what's our div? Class not class name. And if we have an image, so if post author image, then we want to include the image. But I think they're the same size as they're here. So we'll do the same trick that we did for the featured section, where the author avatar, we've found out that the biggest width possible for them is 24. And this image asset component actually does provide a source set for 2x for retina displays. So we're doing much better. Team. And I think, yeah, they are the same. So we could even extract the same component here. Let's say we didn't see it appear. Boom. Good. Looks all right, I would say. Looks how they wanted. We just need their names. So here, looks decent. And we could do the same trick with a font weight. Do font light. Sure. So we could make this be an author avatar, but that's fine. Oh, size 6. I didn't remember of this. Specifies width and height. Awesome. Handy. Cool. So that's all for the author part, or the boring side of the grid. Let's do the cool side. The cool side is this, with an h2. So broken down further, or I guess takes 2 columns of the 3. And we have the title in small text. God forbid anyone can read that easily. Then the excerpt, I'll keep going with doing like the padding here. It's a different type of muted. I'll use it again. So p post excerpt, and the class is gonna be like this. Looks cute. And then they have like a read more situation. They have an anchor, which we could make a ghost button. And I guess the href would be blog slug. Yeah. Sweet. And in here we say read more. Chevron. What size? Size 4. There you go. And first you read more, and you get your Chevron. And it has, I guess, why do you have this? Why do they have this empty span? I don't know. But we do have like this weird margin always with our buttons. Oops. I think we have enough to eat some margin here. Right, how are we doing? We're doing fine. I think we're doing good. Like, of course, this is like smaller text, like everything. But I think that's nice. It's coming out well. All right, and of course, we bring in everything for now, and we'll want to do filtering next and pagination, and actually render the detail because this goes nowhere. Sweet. All right, anything else we miss from the design? I think this is it. Let's have a look and see if it actually looks nice. Like this. I guess the chevron is both a bit smaller and muted. Their things are slightly chunkier, I would say. No need to do all of this. Let's do like ML1 and mtop mb. All right, let's say that this looks decent and move on with our lives. Very similar. We're talking about this. No hover action for them. Looks nice. Dark mode. Awesome. Good stuff. I think this is it for this section. CSS rabbit hole as promised. So only the first one has this extra border. And the last one still has a border. That's what they want. And that's fair enough. And I guess we could also add an MB6, as they all want here, for doing the pagination later. All right, cool. So next up would be filtering by category. Next up will be filtering by category. So in the Tailwind thing, you can have a drop down here and select and see just the product or just the company stuff. Blog posts can have multiple tags, so they can appear in a few categories. And interestingly enough, at the moment you are filtering, you don't see the feature section as well. So that's quite interesting. And we'll break this down into two tasks. First, we'll need to make sure that server side we're able to filter. If someone magically, they're doing it with search parameters, great. So if you copy paste this in Slack and you send someone else, it's still gonna work. That's a great thing that has started happening in the past few years more, because we were disrespecting the HTML and web standards for too long and doing things client side only for too long without caring about URLs. But then we figured out, you know what's a great place to store your state? It's not Redux, it's the URL. So we're back into this, and we'll make it so our backend will be able to pick up whether a user wants to filter by a category, make that work first, and then actually give them a way to select whether they want to see the insights or whatever else. All right, so let's do it. We want to implement this functionality, but first we'll do the backend. So let's remove everything. And in our blog page server, we could let me know if you want to see how to stream these. If you want to show streaming again, if you think that's going to be fun, we can do it. But for now, we're fetching them alongside the feature posts, which is a bit of a miss, especially on mobile. Like they'd never see these blog posts. So you could have rendered the image first, like better core web vitals. You could have less latency, smaller time to first paint, but you didn't because you fetched 5 blog posts. You fool. I'm the fool here. But we could be streaming it. On desktop, I guess in this case, you don't actually see them. So they are below the fold, so you should be safe. So yeah, I would say performance feature creep here would be stream the latest posts. Of course, best performance hack, just hack this, just cache this page and don't actually use the server, like use it, once every hour at most. So then you have to fetch nothing. It's all pre-rendered. But that's by the by. Let me know if you want to see the streaming. What you want to see now is being able to pass query parameters here. And I guess we would only want the feature posts if there is no category. So here we're seeing, if they select company, no feature post section. Interesting. So let's make that disappear first. And how would we do this? So if the user were to manually say category equals insights, is that a real thing? I think the category is actually, interesting. On the backend, they had us do the categories with camel case. Well, that's by the by. We'll do it like this. So SvelteKit, in these load methods, they give us access to the URL. And the URL has search params. And we can say, we can check if this is one of the valid categories, I guess, but we'll get to that. We can also say, if there is a category, that's when we actually fetch the feature posts. And this would be a featured posts array or null. If there is no category, then we push another promise to it. Maybe data promises. Better. Then we'd put the feature blog post there. And then we could await all of them. need this. I do need these to be data promises. And then I do always return latest posts, which aren't latest posts, actually, they're just posts. I should refactor this. Irregular posts, feed posts. Yeah. So these are feed posts. The first ones are going to be this, and now the featured posts are sometimes going to be null, because this data promise array may only have one item sometimes. It won't have a second item here. Could be undefined even. Good. Error as we expected. So in the UI, we can actually say if we have data feature posts, then render this section. But it's not sure what this is. We'll figure it out. And this needs to be feed posts. So that should be fine. That should be fine. Although we are doing some MB16 here, margin button, and it won't always have a margin. But I guess this has a margin, so that's fine. Yeah, we're good. So our problem is that our backend thinks that this array of promises always has something that resolves post snippets, which is not true. It is an array of post snippets, and potentially feature posts or undefined. And of promises of this, of course. A promise of this, and promise of this or undefined. Too crazy? An array with 2 items? Ugh. So it wants me to do this, but that's just disgusting. So if I what? If I don't say undefined here, is it happy? No, it will not like it. I will have to do it. Or maybe, yeah, I will have to do it. And here, I will have to explicitly say that the first one is going to be this. Ugh, it doesn't feel good. Sometimes TypeScript doesn't feel good. But now, this should know what this is. Great. Wow. So this weird data promises thing, we should have been doing streaming. We're saying that this array has the post snippets as the first element and maybe has the feature posts as the second element. I don't like it. We'll change it, but hey, we've learned something new. And what we're doing here, if we have a category, then we show this. We do not show the feature section. If we do, then we show the feature section. Yeah, great. And now the second part is, I guess, to double check whether the category is one of the valid categories. How would we know that? Would we make a check, I guess, of all the categories that are in our database? Kind of lame. Like that's another thing to stream, I suppose. But yeah. So if category That's just silly. If we have a category, we should check whether it's one of the valid categories. So in our post repo interface, we should get the categories. Get all of them. Which is fair enough. Let's go to our Sanity implementation. And now we want to get all categories. I want to specify what it returns. And do we have a const all categories query? Type category, get the slug. Do they have a slug? What do they have? Who knows? Category just has a title without a description. So I can only imagine that we get the title. And that's it. And we move on with our lives. And therefore, with no parameters, we just use the categories query. And if we run the code gen, this should know that this returns something. Not quite. So we need to map this, I guess, or reduce it. Then if title push title return for accumulator, and this reduce should return a string array, and then we're happy. All right, and we could even lowercase it, I guess. If you have a category here, then we want to fetch all of the categories. And we want to check if categories includes category, or else just ignore it, I guess. We could throw a 404, I suppose. Not found. Do we have a 404? Not really. So error 404 SvelteKit thing. Right, so if you're trying to be sneaky, then we do this. Do we get a 404? Let's see. So if the category is product, oh, didn't quite work. Knowledge company product insights. There you go, product. And what's the query parameter? It's product. Ah, if it doesn't include, of course, come on, Johnny, get it together. Right, so if it's a valid one, then it's fine. If it's an invalid one, even, the Chrome helped me here. But if I had like a whatever category that doesn't exist, then you get 404. And I should have like a bespoke error page nested here, but that's something to create later. So we would still render, I guess, all of this, but have a section here that says couldn't find what you wanted, this category, not this dramatic error. But since we're using the dropdown, a real user, not trying to be naughty, they shouldn't be able to hit a category that doesn't exist, because we'll be giving them the categories that exist. Cool. And we do want all the categories anyway. So maybe we do have the all categories promise anyway. And if they have a category, we just await this to do our little check. That makes sense. If not, what do we do? Who knows? And right, so we can say that we only want to see the product stuff. We don't get the feature thing, but we only want to see blog posts that are in the product category. Which means that this get latest post thing, it's not necessarily latest, but should be able to take like a category, like a filter. Let's say that it takes just a category at this level. The post filters. Category string, and say that this is this. Right, but maybe this doesn't exist. So maybe you don't give it and it's fine. But we also want to pass it here in the latest post query. So how do we do that? I'd imagine you have something here, conditional end. Not sure. I will look at how they're doing it in XAS land. I wonder if in their vision thingy, do they have a way to do this? And maybe, I don't know. Let's see how they do it in XAS. So here, get posts, they do give it the category, they do give it pagination options as well. sanity fetch with parameters. Give it the query, sure. So it's a post query, and it says, if this is defined, I guess. So what are they saying? If it's not featured and defined category, select. Oh, it's crazy. It's similar to what we've done here, but this, and categories have slugs in this case. Huh. But here they don't have slug. So what's the deal with that? And this select thing, unclear. It is getting the magic parameter of category, which is fine. I see. So it seems like a post, even if it's featured, it will show up if you're using the filter. Interesting. So here we have the GDPR is as a suggestion that doesn't appear in the feed, but if you search for a category that exists, that includes it like insights, then you see it here. Okay, so in our query, we need to change this. Either not featured, or we've defined a category, I can only imagine. And then you do a select somehow if you've defined a category using the category somehow. I don't know how that slug works because categories don't have slugs. So unclear to me, but hey. And then for the pagination, you get a start index and an end index, not just a quantity, but we'll do that next. And then we have title, slug, published, excerpt, author, name events. So that at least was fine. Any other queries? And they have a total post query, but they don't have a categories query, interestingly enough. So now, let's go Zen again. And say that we also want to give should this be null? Maybe not. So I'd expect this to be kind of fine, but I guess it's not. Let's see what's the problem. Cannot parse category undefined. What if it's null? Let's figure it out quickly. All right, so null is a special case, undefined is not. So let's say that you always have filters here. And it's just that the category defaults to null. Maybe not. So that's what I want to do, but I want to say that category is string or null. Sure. And now this works. And the question is, am I just in products? Maybe not. So in the loader method here, if I have a category, then get latest posts. Well, regardless, I guess. We can pass the category here and then we're happy. All right. So could be that we have no posts like this. The casing is problematic. I am pretty sure that we have posts in those categories. And I don't like that the casing seems a bit funky. So let's double check what's happening. So I get latest posts here. We are passing the filter. Let's see. Category knowledge. Category knowledge. But is that a real thing? Well, one of them is. So it feels like this would be included. But is it that the category doesn't have a slug? Oh, slug, come on. Come on, Johnny. Get it together. So its category should have a slug, which we didn't have. And maybe that's the thing that makes it lowercase as well. I guess. So in our schema types here, we have a title and description, which we don't really need. And what we should actually have is a title and a slug. And then I guess we'd be searching by slugs. What a thing to say. So now this must have hot reloaded, and this should have a slug. Maybe define it first. Can I say like required? Deprecated. Maybe not. Something to figure out another time. So this has a slug. This has a slug now. This has a slug now. This has a slug now. Right, so the query now makes a bit more sense. this has a slug now. 4 categories. Is it 4? 1, 2, 3, 4. Sure. So now I guess we could just not be doing this. Extra query, but we will. Only instead of getting the title, we should get the slug. So let's get the slug here. And then get and push the slug here. And then codes in. And then, as a nice to have here in the category, we can even lowercase this. So I think in this case we should be good to go. With no category, it's fine. With category equals product, we're not good to go. Let's look at all categories again. Oh, they have a current. Ugh. Ugh. So that's what the current was about. Slugs have current. I guess it's for version history or something like that. Who knows? And will this always be defined? Borden saying you're eager to learn Svelte and you're coding a browser extension with it. Amazing. I've definitely done Svelte browser extensions in the past. I've done React browser extensions back in the day, and that was way harder. So that's a great use case for Svelte. What are you making? What is it going to be about? So this thing. Like slug is not a string. Ah, but they do this thing. Slug current. That's what we want to do too. As slug, get slug current. So let's try again, try harder. But this shouldn't be any, this should be something. It's like it's returning the title, it should be returning the slug current here. Maybe because it's a generated file, doesn't know, we need to have a look there. So now that we've opened the file, maybe reload this. No, it's fine, all right. So it knows that this is a string. Ugh. Too confident. But why is this null? Surely it's something. All right. So yeah, in reality, this is something. I don't know why the type generation thinks that this is nothing. I know. Because the schema has changed. This is the one case where we need this to run again and again. So the studio schema generation needs to run, and then our generate file will run again. All right. And I reload here yet again. And now it knows that the slug it's null again. How? Why? This should be an array of strings. Come on. Come on, man. I'm confident about this. New schema. New categories. String or null. Okay, so we got somewhere in the end. Cool. So now it does believe me that this may be a string. To load eventually, we push it, we return it, all good. So Borden is saying you're making a chat that's available in any page you navigate to, so you can comment anywhere you want. Also for websites that don't want to implement a comment section on their own. Back in the day, working in travel, one of the widgets we were making for hoteliers was a chat interface like that, with the idea being that what you want is to run a hotel. You want to be a hotelier. You don't want to be a web designer and compete with Expedia and all of these things. We can do this for you. We can bring you the nice chat experience so people can ask how deep is the pool without you having to do anything extra. I can only assume that you can do this with browser extensions without having to ask the hotelier website to embed like your widget or whatever else. So it's a cool community idea. I think forums are a bit lost and comment sections are a bit lost nowadays. Maybe people have migrated to Discord a little bit, but I do miss that. I do miss, I'm on this website, I have a comment on this website, and I want to see what other people commented on this website. So it's a really cool idea. I like it. I like it. And it's good timing for it, I would say, because maybe communities are moving to Discord. Check out our Discord as well. But because of all the AI and LLM and concerns like that, I do think there will be a push to have more of like community features on the web, on the internet. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Anyway, after all of this, we managed to get all slugs here, and now we understand what this slug current thing is. And we're saying that run a special select GROQ query within your GROQ query. If you've defined the category, if this is not null, then check if this category is inside here, this array, but only take the current slug for every category item. So it kind of makes sense. Still kind of confusing, but not too bad. And I wonder if this means if this is defined, then run this query. It reminds me kind of like Python or GDScript. If it's defined, then run this query, or else always return true. So if we pass in null as the category, then we're not going to do this check. Kind of makes sense. All right, so if it does make sense, and I do pass lowercase product here. Do I see product posts? I should, but Chrome is like, no, you'll get uppercase and you're gonna like it, which will force me to do something. It will force me to lowercase this, I guess. Which makes it work. Okay. Cool. So this is claiming that sometimes it's undefined. Or null. Great. I can only assume these are product updates, and if we do insights, then we get insights. We get something different. Right. So backend stuff. Finally did it. How will the user actually navigate to different categories and see different categories and switch back to seeing all of them without having to mess with the URL, because no one is going to do that. And the answer is with some UI. So we're getting there. It took us a while. If the user is willing to go in the search bar and put in category equals whatever, then they are gonna get the filtering that they want. But that's not the filtering they deserve. They want to be able to click here, select dropdown, and pick the category of their dreams, or this. And we are gonna use shadcn for this, a shadcn select like this. Maybe no categories or anything like that. Maybe we'll just default to all categories that will be doing something. No placeholder, I guess. And when they change something, then they should be redirected. So it should be part of a get form, I suppose. And the moment they switch to something, the moment they mess with the dropdown, they should go to this page, to whatever they selected. And if they select the all categories one, then they go to the one that doesn't have the query parameter. That would be my dream. So, do I already have a select shadcn thing in this project? The answer is yes. Do we have any other examples here? Maybe about pre-selection? It is in Handabytes bits UI, the primitive UI here. So in the API, they will have like a way to specify this is the selected one, I suppose. But it's not like particularly documented here. Loop, interesting. So selected is nothing. Let's see. So we have the all categories promise, which we can still pass, I guess. It's gonna be all categories or all categories promise. I guess this is like a weighted already, so it should be fine. Right. So now in the UI, in here, the select category, let's create a category filter component. That, what is it gonna do? I guess it will just be this for now, but we will see. The prompts is going to be categories. It's maybe a promise of string arrays, indeed. And we can say await, then something. We can have some skeleton UI here. And then render the shadcn thing. Maybe for clarity, I could keep this as all categories promise, I suppose. And then here we can say categories promise, await the categories promise, categories. And then we render the shadcn select. And in our feed, does this live outside? No. So category filter, and you give it categories promise is a string array. That the UI should be given it here, but it does have it. So eventually this becomes the shadcn select, for example. And you can see it flipping. Cool. We'll make this have skeleton UI in a moment. But first, or now, we want this select situation, the hidden input. What did it do in the form? Wow, quite a lot of things. But the main thing is that they have a select root. They have a selected here and a non-selected chains. And what we do there, using form data, it's a get form. So it has a label and a value, interestingly enough. These items need to have labels and values, but we don't care in this case to do anything fancy. Let's start with this. Import everything, every select related thing, shadcn select thing, render it here, and we get this. But what we actually want is its categories as category, categories as category, something that has a value and a label, I suppose. A class of capitalize or uppercase or whatever it is. Right, so select trigger, we don't want a placeholder. How do we do that? no placeholder, it's just empty. But here we can say that the selected is going to be something. The selected should be all categories, actually. Can I select back to nothing? No. You cannot reselect the placeholder, I'm afraid. Or the group. The label. Neat. Right, so besides these items, we also want the all categories. I think that's what they say, all categories. And selected what we want here. What do we want here? Can I just give it this? No. So it wants something that has value of nothing and all categories. Label all categories. So now it knows and it contains, great. And this one too should be capitalized. And we can say all categories. Option. Can be this. Maybe this, we'll see. And this can be all categories option, value, all categories option, label. Wait a minute. Is this class not passed? No, it's like it just needs to spell correctly. All right. So after you've spelled correctly, you can see them. But we do need to start from the one you've actually selected, and we also want to do the navigation to the selected category that you want. I suppose that the filter may be looking a bit different. I guess it doesn't have like an outline at all in this case. Too bad. We'll see. Maybe we'll do our own thing. I do like outlines. How does it look on light mode? Yeah, it does look way different. But hey. This gap is also significantly more. Because of the button. The button is like huge. better. All right. Let's figure it out. We want something to happen when they actually change from one category to the next. But what exactly? There are a few ways we could play this. We could not submit a form here. Why does this have like a specific width? What if we didn't? It'd be too big. All right, that looks kind of fine. All right, so we give the initial selected one that should actually be something else. It could be initial selected value is something. Would we do it like this? I need to double check Sanity Svelte here in the form, what they do. They have a hidden input somewhere, I guess. Here. On selected chains, they do something, but they don't submit the form. Do we want to do that? I'm not sure. Maybe that's simpler instead of having like hidden inputs and stuff. Let's see. Let's say the initial selected value is going to be from the page store. Let's see. Let's get the URL from the search params, get the category. And if that exists, then the value is going to be this. So query params category can be this. And if it exists, derived by this. And if it exists, then it's gonna be an object that has this value and this label, or it's gonna be the all categories option, and that's gonna be the initial selected value here. And then if we switch, we want something to happen. So on selected chains, we can use that thing. Get the value, but what we actually want is to go somewhere. And again, we can check the store for the current URL. Create that one. But if the value is not equal this also has value. Let's get the value. Or maybe it doesn't exist. be undefined. So if there is a selected and, or if not selected, or selected value equals all categories option value, then URL search params delete category. Is that how it works? Maybe. And then go to that new URL. Else, RSS params set the category to be the selected value and go to that URL. And I guess you can do this regardless in the end. So is this gonna work? Who knows? We should be seeing all posts here, and now we should just see a few ones for product. All right. It triggers a page transition, which always gets me. And it kind of isn't. So maybe that's the next thing that we will. So you can see that we have navigated correctly to the product page. So the backend is only fetching the relevant ones, and it's all working beautifully. The border radius of this, at the very least, is like a bit too ridiculous. It's too much, even for me. Maybe, I don't know, maybe it's fine. Maybe you like it. What else are these guys doing? I guess the text is bold and maybe a bit smaller as usual. So we have the select trigger, and this may be the thing. It has a different height and like a different roundedness. It's fine for now. Like, let me know if you really don't like this. Kinda like it. I kinda like it. But our kinda problem is that we are getting this page transition, which maybe it's fine. Easy way to fix, since this is kinda off screen, could be to say that actually this feed thing you see wrapper anywhere? Not really, but in any case, view transition name, call it block feed. And of course, this thing doesn't know that it gets used inside this component. But hey, that's Svelte for you. The one thing I don't like. It still triggers a full transition. Of course. Instead of doing this, maybe not doing this. Forget this ever happened. In our layout file, what do we have? In our core layout file. This one. To start the view transition, we have this should view transition thing. And this doesn't even exist. This road ID. So maybe we could say root ID is blog and you're going to the same one, then don't do a view transition. And move on with your life. Didn't quite work. Maybe, is it even blog? Is it even the blog section? What's the root ID here? Ah, it has the group prefix. Sure. So it's this marketing/blog. Sure. So now I'd expect if I mess with this, it won't view transition. Great. But still, when I move around the website, I am getting beautiful view transitions. If I mess with a filter, I don't get a view transition like this, which feels fine. This feels good. I do get bounced back up. But I think this is acceptable. I think this is good. What are these guys doing? If I mess with this, yeah, again, I get bounced back up. So I think this is it. I think we've implemented the filtering in an acceptable way, if I may say so myself. Ah, we haven't done the skeleton UI. We haven't done the skeleton UI. So let's do the skeleton UI. So when we're fetching the categories, like nothing nice is showing. And what's a clever way to make this work? What's a way to make this work first? So we have the category filter here. We're saying until this happens, then do nothing. We could have the select root and the trigger and whatever, but I fear this will be doing some state stuff until then. So what skeletons do we have in our closet here? Are we using skeletons anywhere? No. So let's look at shadcn skeletons. shadcn Svelte skeletons. So we want to copy like one of these, I guess. Maybe just this. And I would like to design this. So let's copy it here. It doesn't look too bad. I guess we know how big this is. We could make it have a border. This does have a specified height. Let's could be fine. not too annoying, hopefully. So now if I hard refresh, we do get a bounciness, unfortunately. How big is this guy? Where is the root? It's this select primitive, but how big is it? Is it as big as this? Is this the thing that should be like x9? Need more. Oh, didn't have the x9. Deleted the wrong thing. Alright, so we did it. Kinda. I think Play Center should have worked in any case, even without flex. But I guess it does need flex. Flex call. What's happening? But there is an easier way to play centers early. Nowadays, there is browser support. The classic joke of what do you need to place the content. Place content center. It's worse. Alright, so no need for a flex container. This just works now. And I do believe it ate. It tried to help. Ate my thing. Alright, so looks perfect. We made it. And the user would never see this, really. By the time they're there, they're well loaded. If we are in the page, again, it's like borderline in the place where they'd see it. But yeah. That's fine. My keyboard gave out too much CSS action. Yeah, right. So I like this. Great. Awesome. Let's move on with our lives after having done the skeleton UI here. And do pagination. Oh, we have cool stuff remaining. We have tons of cool stuff. So next thing we want to do we have too many blog posts, we need pagination. At some point, we'll have millions of blog posts. So instead of fetching all of them, let's only fetch 5 and give user the ability to actually go somewhere else. And we'll use SvelteParams again, the same way that the Tailwind team did and that we always preach. Therefore, we just need some anchor links at the end and the ability to be able to tell on which page you were currently on. So I guess let's do the backend first. Yet again. So on our blog page, on our loader, we're getting the latest posts here, and we're passing in the category, but we're not passing in which page do we want or how many posts do we want. I guess in this case, we just need to know how many posts, which page of posts we want. And we'd be getting it similarly to the category. And maybe say that the current page or the page is gotten from the param here. If it exists, we can parse it. Or else it can be one this does know that we've done the check to ensure that this exists. So page page search param can be this. If this exists, then we can parse int, or can be one, and everything can be the maximum between this and 1. So if someone tries to do like page 0 or page -10, then it just defaults to page 1. Even though maybe you want to do something else. Maybe you want to say there is an error. Anyway, this page we want to pass to the latest posts. So back to our interface. We want to say that besides filters, we also have like a post pagination, I think, which just has a page number. Or maybe we could just give the page as the first parameter too. And yeah, we probably also want the amount of pages back, but we'll resolve this eventually. Because what else would we want here? We just want the page, right? Just a number. We keep things simple. Yeah, just give me the page. Always give me the page. But then in the implementation, of course, this thing picks a page number first. In our latest post query, I guess we could give the count here. This could be a parameter. Oh, that's fine. This thing, the latest post query, somehow doesn't like this or TQL thing. Somehow we should be describing an offset here. So it feels like this is like the start index, and the last index that we've seen before. And instead of passing in quantity here, we need to figure out that the start index per page is 5, and the start index is gonna be page -1 times per page. I can only imagine it's index 0, and the last index is going to be the start plus the per page. So then, if we give this start index last index, then it should just work. And maybe it does. Let's code Zen again. I don't think this results in a different return type in any case. But if I were to go here and say page equals 2, oh, I see the 6th result. I only have 6 blog posts, so indeed 29 of December. So it seems like this works. September even. So we have 5, we have 2024, 2024, 2023, 2023, 1st of October, 2023. And if I manage to go to page 2, then I see 29th of September, 2023, which is indeed before October 1st, 2023. So it seems like backend, we've done it, but we know that the frontend will want to know how many total pages we have. So I think in the Next.js application, they will have a clever way to specify this in the queries, like total posts. And they do have a categories query. There you go. Oh, wow. They get all posts and then they'll get the categories of the posts. Interesting. Maybe clever. I may switch this at some point. But get post for feed, feed post for query. They do start index, end index, kind of similar. Did we call it? End index. Keep it the same. Anything else clever they did? No, that's this page. Somewhere where they get the count. So that's the... so it's a separate query yet again, unfortunately. That they optionally pass the posts, the category. Unfortunate. So yet another query here. Where do they run this? Does the pagination run this? Yeah, the pagination runs this. Interesting. So I think even though we will need to execute this total post, let's do it again. Let's implement this. We want our backend to be able to fulfill this. So our post repo interface, get post count. And it will get the same post filters and return a number eventually. And let's group it here. And say that we have a get posts count. Get total post count or not. And it's taking filters, and it's not doing anything like that. And it is going to be hitting a different query. Let's call it posts count. Name everything query. And to steal it wholesale from whatever we're doing here. So this thing don't need to hint this. So for the posts that have a slug and they're either not featured or we haven't defined a category, select the ones that are in the category if we have defined a category, or all of them. I think that makes sense. Maybe I would call this pagination query because it's not counting the featured ones. So not sure. So let's call it pagination post count query actually. Pagination total post count query. Am I paid by the character? Good. So does this return a count? Who knows? We'll find out after we scan code gen our new query. Maybe this will know. Reload. Not the correct window to reload. Reload this. Maybe now it knows. Doesn't know yet. Let's ever know. It's a number. Great. Why is it a number? It's a number because it's a count. We're running a count. So this returns a number. Beautiful. Cool. So we can just return this in line. Blah blah. But now, fortunately or not, we don't particularly need this defined in the interface. What we want is our latest posts to be returning an object of posts and total count number. So we don't need this, but we do need the latest post to return the other ones. And I guess at the same time, we can promise.all this and this capital post count with the same filters. Get the posts, get the total count. What are we saying? We want total count. And return missed. But on this level, we're good. And return the posts and return the total count. And then I think we've implemented correctly. However, here, this thing where we are actually getting the latest posts, the feed posts. This is not going to be the feed post. This is going to be something that returns the feed posts and the total count of the posts. So to avoid further confusion, too late. No data promises anymore. No data promises anymore. Feature posts. If we have a category, maybe let featured posts. Things on it. Featured posts. It's gonna be null. It may be this. Maybe this. Yes. If there is some category, and feature posts can be this. I will need to let my Google. Samerina, you want to get up? No. My doggy is half chilling, half eager to get out, so I will need to stop soon, but we'll see. Right, so if this exists, then await this. Good. This may be null. We don't do anything with data promise anymore. But we can say that the feed posts are this. Cool. We could await feed posts. I guess they'll be kind of awaited. I think, like, because we're not blocking here and the promise fires, I think it will happen in parallel with this. All right, so why did we do all of this? Because feed posts is not the feed posts. It's actually the feed post query that has the posts included and also their total count. So that was the situation. Call it promise. So now in the UI, in here, in the feed, actually, you take another promise. Call it feed posts promise, maybe. And in the feed component, we can actually say we get this, which is actually this. And in here, we could be doing some skeleton UI, but we won't. then we'll have posts and a total count. We won't be doing an if. What we will be doing is rendering all of this inside the if. Quite a lot of stuff, including the pagination. So it looks like this works the same. Maybe every time you change this thing, it also goes to the first page, I guess. Did I say this is a promise? No. It's a promise of these things. Good. So now this is happy too. The category flipper could get us to the first page every time. So could always delete the page. If you flip the category, you probably want to go to the first page anytime. But now that we've implemented this, we can finally get to the front end. Finally get to the front end. Yeah, we kind of were in the front end. But it will help me market better. So we want to implement this, which is of course this section here, and we can create a pagination component. And maybe all we want in it is from the feed. He's gonna need the total count. It's reminding me. So a script tag. Maybe we need these three things actually. Done before, so it feels correct. But maybe not. Like, how does this know how many we are per page? I don't know. The total count we definitely need. And the per page we know somehow. It's 5. Maybe like it's a constant somewhere that gets reused. But what we'll actually try to use is the pagination component from shadcn, which again I think it's like trying to be a bit too clever for its own good. But maybe it just works. Do I actually have it here? Yes. Do I? Oh, I think I have my own pagination component, which is doing like quite a few crazy things. Should I just trust that it's working and we can do it? Yes. Let's see how it looks. So instead of using the shadcn pagination component, this crazy thing, I was like, I can build my own. Let's see how it looks. Maybe we can restyle it. UI pagination by JOHNNIFY. Right, so this pagination component somehow I've created for one of the many live streams we've done with search and pagination and filtering, I can only imagine, where we do search. People can search. In this blog you cannot search, sadly. So per page is this. It needs a table count and it needs the current page, which I guess we can get in the page store. Is this doing anything clever with the page store? I imagine it's doing quite a lot with the page store. But somehow it's not magically getting the current page from the page store, which it should. So this thing, like if I didn't need this, it should be derived by maybe the backend would was gonna give it to me, but I guess this assumes that it's gonna use the page parameter, so it should know how this works. Not really abstracted. Therefore, page URL search params get page. Needs to buy because it's a long method. What did I call it in the backend though? I called it page search param. It's gonna be this. And can return this by parsing it and also doing the math min between this and 1. And if I save this, and I don't pass this, there you go. Pagination. 1 out of 5, 1 to 5 out of 6. We press next. Nothing happens. Something should happen though. We do go to page 2. So, it does work. But it should be saying so in 6. So, what's that about? Pagination component per page, current page -1. Is this not changing? So if we go back, this is correct. And we are on page, no page. And if we keep going, we do make it to page 2. But this doesn't update. Let's do a little inspect. It says it's page 1. Press next. Oh, it's incorrect. That's what it is. So it says it's page 1. I press the next button. Should be page 2. But it still thinks max. All right. Not 6 out of 10. 6 out of 6. But all of these things don't matter. We have a previous here. We can click it. Next. Great. So pagination does work. The UI is weird, but it's not the UI that we actually want. The UI that we actually want is this. Ah, that's why we wanted shadcn, because they're doing this little pages thingy. That's why. That's why. So I was cheating by not showing this. And kinda only having... Does it look different in different viewports? Let's have a look. Yeah, it just has the previous and next. Like, I like it. And the previous button is always there. Actually. So this always exists. It's always kind of like this. There are bigger buttons as well. Maybe not that big. They're fine. Less rounded, so maybe we can play with that eventually. In any case, they do want the arrays. They have like a array, and also can be disabled. Data disabled. Unclear. I am passing data disabled, but I don't have like any UI to block it from happening. Maybe that's why I didn't even have it. If I did keep it disabled, then nothing happens. If it doesn't have previous, this should be disabled. UI wise looks the same. But in any case, this one and we want arrays for both of them. Separate. Looks about right. And maybe a separate, right? So yeah, this looks kind of drastically different without these pagination thingies in the middle. But I think when you have like a little blog post, it doesn't really matter, does it? Ah, and I suppose when you go to the next page, when you're not on the first page, you don't see the feature post section either. So in the marketing blog server, if we don't have a category and it's the first page, that's when we want to see it. So if we go to the second page, actually, we don't want to see it. And the disabled doesn't quite work. We're saying that with disabled, it has pointer events, none. And with that disabled as well. So, I guess you cannot disable hrefs is the problem. Unfortunately. Or fortunately. I imagine if this didn't have an href, then I could give it a disabled. Indeed. But since it has an href, so maybe I can actually do, if it has prev, give this or keep it undefined. And then disabled is this. And then it's happy. Ha! We did it. So they're doing like some shadcn, the buttons are doing some advanced type inference to know that if you're using this button as an anchor link in the end, you cannot put a disabled into an anchor element. You shouldn't, so we're doing nothing. But if you're not giving an href and it's a regular button, then you can make it be disabled and people won't be able to click it. And everyone will be happy. Same trick for the next one. So now you can go to the next page and UI stays the same. We just don't have the pagination numbers in between. But I think that's fine. I think that's going to be it for today. So let me know as we're cleaning up and deploying. We'll do the deployment as well, since I said deployment. If you have any questions, something you'd like to see, and we'll do it. Filter by category and paginated blog posts. So we've shown how we've set up this deployment with Vercel, but we aren't deploying the studio, this thing, our CMS. So only we can use it because our client is not going to have GitHub and run this. So Borin asks, what do you like to use for authenticated? Depends on the project. For this one, I think I'm using my favorite. I know what I'm using. I'm not sure if it's my favorite or not. So on this one, I'm using a Turso database connected to it with the Drizzle ORM, and we're using the Lucia library for the authentication stuff, which does have quite a bit of logic, for whether you're doing social auth login like with Google, which is the one we have. But if you've done one, then you can do all the social logins. You can do like tweets, GitHub, Apple. You can do all of those. And you can do magic link emails, email, and password authentication. And we've done a few live streams to show how this works in this specific project and other projects like it, where I am doing that combo of Turso, SQLite, Drizzle, and Lucia. I have the one auth TS file in the schema, which defines a few tables, including the users table, the sessions table, providers to users, so that's like Google to this user, if they've used the Google login or whatever else, and verification codes, which is the way you can do magic link emails and SMS verification as well. And I like it. It was quite a bit of work to get it to this state. It took us like a few live streams to slowly get to this state, but now I've just been copy pasting it, maybe slightly changing it every once in a while. So people want like passwords for some reason. Their clients want them to have a way to authenticate with email and password. So I've added the password hash option here. Anyway, now that I've done it, it's easy, it's nice, it works. If I'm using Supabase for a project, I will use Supabase itself, its own authentication methods. If I'm using PocketBase, PocketBase has its own authentication methods that we've used client side. So that's the one. And Sanity doesn't offer its own authentication method, which is why I decided to combo it with my favorite of the ones that you do yourself. So if I am using something that offers authentication as part of the package, like Supabase, like PocketBase, I will use it. I'm happy to use it and not mix in something else. If not, I will do the Drizzle with Lucia combo. Cognito is the Amazon one. It's a production grade one, so I can imagine why it's expensive. And I guess if you are in the AWS ecosystem anyway, might as well. That's the premise, like use Cognito as well. But yeah, this thing with the Drizzle and Lucia, it's as free as it gets. I have a subscription to Turso. I think you can get away with a cheaper plan, but because the databases fall to sleep, you can't go with the cheapest plan. I don't think for production it's acceptable for the databases to go to sleep, because you have one chance for someone to click your link, and if your app doesn't work because it's asleep and it takes like 5 minutes, they're gonna get out. So it's this one. It's a library that allows you to implement auth anywhere, but I'm using it with the Drizzle ORM, which I like better than Prisma, since I was trying it. And it's all talking to an SQLite database, which you can deploy yourself to Fly.io or somewhere, but there is this startup called Turso that is doing a lot of work on deploying SQLite on the cloud and replication. Elysia is an API endpoint like Express or Fastify, on the premise that it runs, or it's made to run on BAN, and it's therefore super fast, but it doesn't have anything to do with auth by itself. You could use it, like you can have an Elysia API that uses Lucia for auth, or Firebase, or Cognito, or anything else. But it's not that Elysia is going to be doing the auth for you. You'll need to implement the auth in here yourself. But yeah, this one, Turso, since I already have the subscription, and it gives me like 1 million databases with a lot of bandwidth, it means that for any new project that I create, authentication is free, because I've paid for one, and therefore I've paid for 1 million. While if you're doing Supabase, if you're doing something like Cognito, usually it's like, oh, it's a separate project, then you need to pay like a bit extra. It's per project, it's not like per total users in your lifetime. But because you're separating the databases here, it's fine. So that's why I like it for these projects. And the other one, PocketBase CMS, is a CMS solution that also does a few packet app things. It can do crons, for example, run scripts every so often, even command line tools. Even though for crons nowadays I just use GitHub Actions. Its main thing of PocketBase. Oh, look, the animation. The gopher is looking at the mouse. That's amazing. First time I've noticed this. If you go close, it hides. Wow. So its main thing is the CMS functionality. However, today we're using Sanity, which is a huge company, millions and millions raised, and the CMS part, the WordPress part of it, looks very nice. We will be looking at how you can do the rich text at some point. PocketBase is definitely very, very workable. But it's not extensible, so it's like this is what you get. Like if you are creating your PocketBase for your own blog, you're gonna be fine. If you just have the one client, then you're gonna convince them that it's fine and it's enough for them. But Sanity seems to be the thing that if you want like a little bit of customization, if someone tells you your client wants to have a specific field for something that queries the video games database and then returns a result there and then populates a few fields. That's easier to do and have in here than in PocketBase. So as far as the CMS stuff goes, I've been really liking this quite a lot. It's very extensible. It's, I'd say, for like if you have bigger clients, bigger specs and requirements. And I've been liking, instead of icons, to just return emojis here. Interestingly, this is a React app, the CMS, the interface that they have. PocketBase is a SvelteKit app. It's a Svelte app. Make of that what you will. And am I logged in here? Not. So I'm not gonna log in and show it. I have a video of this, so if you really want to see more of PocketBase, you can have a look at the short video instead of the long live stream, like the one we've done today, 15-minute video. And you're welcome. Great question. Thank you for asking. And with all of this explaining, I imagine that we've managed to deploy. Let's see. Oh, it's worked because we're awesome. We didn't do the details just yet, so you press this and it's like, whoops. Can't find this. Pagination does work. Category filtering does work. And anything else? I think that's it. Nice. We could do like some skeleton UI as this gets fenced. If you see like a little flash here, depending on where you go. And it's because it does take a while for this to, like just a half a millisecond, for this to be streamed afterwards. And they push this section back and it causes a bit of a flash. But those are the things that I will have to look at offline. So let's see how we can deploy this thing. We've successfully deployed the website once again. Easy. We do this every time. We nail it. How do we deploy the CMS? So if we do have a client, they don't need to check out our GitHub repository and our code. They don't need to be invited in the organization. They don't need to do anything to run anything locally. They can just go to a website to do this. I imagine it's going to be easy because we're using Vercel for this in a monorepo. So just adding it to a project will work, I guess. But important to remember, so we are in a monorepo here. We've shown how to set up your own monorepo with or without Turbo, with PNPM workspaces, and or with Turbo repo. We have a few apps here, database that runs locally, the web app, which is SvelteKit app, and the Sanity Studio, which is our CMS. This is the one that we aren't deploying, and we should deploy if we want anyone in the world, including our clients, to be able to hit the CMS interface and actually be able to write blog posts, edit them, switch them to featured, all of that. How do we do that? I suspect we go to Vercel if we are deploying already to Vercel and say add a new one, add a new project. If we've put something, it will know, it will have our repository there first. Great. And because I have deployed the web app there and Turbo Repo is a Vercel thing, it kind of has this nice UX where it knows that you're going to try to deploy yet another app from this monorepo, and it looks at the directories and it's like, oh, this one, this studio one, I can recognize it with a framework preset. So I didn't prepare this in advance, but I like how it just went there. The project name is this. You could name this like CMS, like this directory, but I'm committed to Studio now. I do want environment variables because I think they're not secret for the studio. It will automatically, Sanity will automatically pick up the project ID and dataset if you prefix them with Sanity Studio. Anything you prefix with Sanity Studio, it will automatically be picked up by Sanity, which I don't really like because public does is VIT convention, just use that one. Next public is an XCS convention, just use that one if you're so big on React. But instead they went with their own called Sanity Studio. Anyway, paste them in, use your own project IDs, even though I do believe that's going to have a separate authentication that we don't have to build, which is great. Speaking of authentication. So Sanity, I do believe, takes care of the authentication stuff through their own system without us having to do anything as far as the CMS is concerned. So when our clients want to go to the CMS and do stuff, we'll be able to invite them to our team, or they'll request access to be like editors or whatever. But if we're talking about the authentication flow in the website here, Sanity doesn't have something for that part to create users. Confetti, everyone loves confetti. The snapshot this was still building. Let's see. Cool. To add this, we need to add this URL. Oh, interesting. So now that we've deployed this, we can have this as a custom URL. In Sanity Studio, I suppose. All right, so now that this has happened, the Sanity Studio that I was running locally is deployed. Anyone can get in here. You can try it at home yourselves and edit this blog post. You won't be able to do this because I imagine it's this authentication flow. Like I'm logged in, and when I try to hit this Sanity Studio, it will know whether I have privileges or not. Just to prove this, let's go to incognito window and try to get there. Right, so it is asking us, how do you want to log in? Google, GitHub, or email and password, or whatever we have. And then after we log in, it will see if we actually have access rights for this project, which is cool. Sometimes, like very often for these projects, this is all you need. You won't need a login flow for your users. You will need a login flow for your client so they can go and they can edit their blog posts and do all of that. And that's going to be part of the deal. You'll deliver, they'll be happy. I did decide to create a real login flow for our Svelte implementation of Radiant. Because, well, first of all, they have like a fake login flow here, so I wanted to do a real one. And second of all, this is supposed to be a SaaS product. So at some point, like you have the pricing, like you have the buttons, like start the free trial, whatever. You have the call to actions for the person to go through the login flow and pay you and then see a dashboard. So I do think it's important to have some sort of login flow in the template you're providing. So that's why we did it. And we did dark mode because it's cool. All right, so that was deploying Sanity Studio. We have a config there that means that when you publish changes in the CMS, it may take a while to actually update here because we are going through the CDN, including for images. But that's by the by. We have set it so when we work locally, we'll always get the latest changes. So that's nice. All right, I think schedule pause. Cool. This failed one like looks a bit like something has failed because it's red, but it's like any ones that have failed in the past. You can see them here. It would be neat to see if you can do like an automation, like schedule a blog post when you post it. It actually auto posts on Twitter or like that, like threads or whatever. Maybe that's something you want me to check in the future. If we keep going with this project and we still don't go on the Tori app, then it would be actually doing the specific blog posts, having a look at the blog content, which is actually a big thing, and the RSS feed, which I think is not going to be such a big thing, but still deserves its own session. So we've made it 3.5 hours almost today. So for today, this is going to be it. I hope you had fun. This was fun. I can really see the use cases for going with Sanity. I can see ways where you can build great big apps for some sorts of pretty big clients using this. I think they'll be like impressed with the CMS functionality here versus what you may have by default with like Ghost or something like that. Many tools can solve many problems you have, but sometimes like you choose the right tool and the deployment, the DevEx for you is great and the client gets more impressed. You've over-delivered. By the way, where I'm from an island called Paros in Greece. It's close to the party island of Mykonos, which most people know, but it's Paros. And currently I'm in Barcelona and the sun is out and my little doggy has been peasant, so we'll see if we can take her for a nice walk. Thanks for asking. Cool. So, deployment, we did them. No blog. You were in Agistri. Amazing. Agistri means hook in Greek. I don't know if you've picked that up while you were there in the place of Agistri. I hope you had amazing seafood. It was summertime as well. I hope it was nice, breezy. You had the seafood. Maybe you had Uzo. Who knows? Hope you had fun all the same. Agistri is nice. So yeah, for so that's what everyone learns how to say, but I'll never say it. So blog detail page next time, maybe including the rich text stuff and the RSS feed or something else entirely. Do let me know. I do want to see things that you think are interesting or that would help you in day-to-day life, inspire you to do some projects. So let me know what your ideas are, and maybe they'll excite me more than the ones I have in store. Maybe as a final demo, since we are done. Let's re-demo what we've done today. Today we've done two main things. We've worked both on the web app, which is implemented in SvelteKit. That's like the client, customer, user facing one that anyone in the world is able to go. We have done the login flow and all of that stuff in the past, but we've improved the blog experience in that you can actually see more than the featured blog posts. Everything implemented both in the original light mode and the dark mode that we so much like. So in the previous live stream, we've been getting the featured blog posts. Now we're getting all the blog posts from our database, and the users are able to filter for a specific category, and they only see 5 extra blog posts per page, and they can paginate to see the rest of them. So that was cool. But we've also deployed the CMS part of this app. So this front end is consuming this kind of backend thing, this Sanity Studio CMS, where anybody can log in according to access rights here. So the client that you've said, you want your marketing site in a blog post, I can do this for you. You invite them into this space and you let them go wild with everything they want. Post author category is just the classic example that we're following, but this can be anything. There are lots of interesting fields that are in Sanity CMS by default, but you can make up your own. You can make up relations to other fields. You can have like featured images or whatever else. The other weird one that the Tailwind team has created is a line break tool, separator tool that you can add in your rich content and specify, do I want just an empty space or do I want it to be like a visible line? Kind of interesting. But just as a little demo of the extra functionality you can have here in the rich text. So these are buttons that we've added and customized with emojis here. It's not something that was out of the box, but it was kind of easy to add. The basic stuff like, oh, this should be a header, this should be a block quote, this should be bold, this should be a list. We've come out of the box with Sanity, which is cool. Drafts and publishing and scheduling also comes out of the box. So lots of cool stuff that I think a lot of clients could do without, but with no extra effort, you can go above and beyond and impress them. All right, that's it. Thanks again for watching today. It's been super fun, and I'll catch you later, probably Thursday this time, not Friday, because there is a game dev conference happening Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and maybe I'll go there, see what happens. Let me know what you want to see. Until then, have a lovely week, and I'll catch you then. Bye.